Well, good morning, food friends. It's Kevin.
Yes, it is. Hi, Kevin. I'm Ralph. I'm behind the camera.
And we welcome you to Cavalcade of Food. And we are here on a beautiful summer morning, and we're going to make ourselves a little quiche.
A quiche.
A quiche. A cute quiche. We're going to make a quiche, an onion, mushroom, cheese quiche.
So kind of like a basic quiche?
Yes.
And what is a quiche?
So a quiche is think of it as like an egg pie.
Ooh.
Okay, it has a crust.
Okay.
And the filling is really eggs and milk and whatever else you want to put in there.
So it's kind of custardy, and then you can get creative and put different things.
Different fillings. You can put in meat. You can put in bacon, like a quiche Lorraine. You could put in ham,
spinach,
good. All kinds of cheese. So we're making a veggie quiche because we took a look and saw what we had on hand, and I think this will work.
And we couldn't believe we hadn't actually filmed a quiche before for this show.
No, I don't think so. We may have done a frittata, which it doesn't have a crust. But I know we haven't done a quiche.
And I think we've done similar sort of things. Like I know the mock spinach pie that I did was kind of along those lines. But anyway, let's get started.
So we're actually going to make our crust. This is a little different kind of a crust, Ralph, than we would make for, say, a regular pie, which we make all the time. This we're going to use our friend the food processor. You don't have to use a food processor, but if you have one, it's good to use for this crust because this crust uses a lot of butter. Okay? Now, again, you could do that with a pastry blender too. This makes a little quicker work out of it. I just put in 1.5 cups of flour, okay? Regular all-purpose flour. And I'm going to put in a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, okay?
Okay.
There we go. So
the crust for a quiche is different from a pie crust in that it's lighter, flakier, maybe?
Well, it's shorter, yeah. It's more buttery, and we have to pre-bake the crust. Okay. I'm just doing that to combine the flour and the salt. Okay.
Is that called a zhuzh?
Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to put in our fat, which I'm going to get out of the fridge because it's a warm day here at the lake, and I've got 10 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Okay.
So it goes in cold, obviously.
Cold. And I got it cut up into like 10 little tablespoon pieces. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to mix this until it looks like kind of a cornmeal consistency. I think that's pretty good. Then, now what we'll do is that we have our butter incorporated. I'm going to transfer this mix to a mixing bowl here. Oh, you can just smell the butter. Okay? So there we have it. Now, I've got some ice water at the ready. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with maybe 3 or 4 tablespoons of ice water. And then we're going to do this just like we would a pastry or a pie crust. Then we want to basically get this all formed together here into a dough ball.
Oh, okay. So you're going to put more ice water, but you just start
as needed, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You might maybe need up to, I put in, maybe 5 or 6. It needs to be just a little bit wetter.
So you just kind of go by the consistency of the dough you're trying to create, or the pastry pie.
There we go.
Is it getting there?
Yes. And then what we're going to do is I'm trying to do this quickly because the butter, you don't want to get too soft. You don't want it to melt, basically.
Yeah, we've had some hot days here, but luckily this morning isn't oppressively hot because that could affect the baking and the creation of the crust. Okay.
So now that it's all sticking together,
you start
pretty
creating,
much.
You start creating your dough ball.
Yeah. Just a little sprinkle more. A little bit more water in there. There we go. Then what we're going to do is make that into a ball.
Get out the Play-Doh Fun Factory. Start making fun shapes.
Okay. Now I want to chill this dough, so
chill dough.
I'm going to get a piece of plastic wrap here.
Oh, and you're actually going to put this in the freezer?
I'm going to put it in the fridge.
Oh, okay.
For at least a half an hour. Now, if you wanted to do this in a quick way, yes, you could put it in the freezer for maybe no more than 10 minutes. So, but Ralph, while I have this wrapped, I'm going to just kind of make it into a disc. So I had it in a ball. Now I'm pressing it down and making it sort of into this disc
like a big
shape.
Flat cookie or biscuit. Okay.
And that'll help in terms of starting to roll it. So we're going to put that in there. I'm going to get cleaned up, and then while that's chilling, we will start getting our vegetables prepped for our quiche filling. So Ralph, I've got the oven preheated to 425 degrees.
This season's model.
Yes, the 1966 Montgomery Ward Signature Range, Menu-Matic. So what we have to do first is we have to pre-bake, or what they call blind bake, the crust. Okay? Partially, not all the way.
Oh, okay.
Okay? Because we're putting in a very liquidy filling, and we don't want the crust to be soggy.
Okay.
So this is the pan we're using. Now I don't have an official quiche pan because I think I might have one at home, but if I ever find one, I'll pick one up somewhere. But right now I'm just going to use a sort of a standard 9-inch pie plate here. Okay.
And the quiche pan looks almost like a larger ramekin. Is that what they call
it? Ramekin. It has a very straight and relatively narrow side to it.
Okay.
Here's our crust. It's nice and chilled. It's been in the fridge for over half an hour. I'm just going to put a little flour down on my cloth here. This is how I like to do my pastry. And then I use a
rolling pin to distribute
rolling pin cover. And then we're going to just work this out here.
So that was in the refrigerator for
about 35 minutes.
Gotcha.
So I'm gonna. It's fairly stiff because it's cold, but we want it to be. You can see the chunks of butter in there. Can you see it?
Yes, and that's a good
Yeah,
thing.
that's what you want. Because when the butter melts in the oven, it gets in between the flour, and that's what creates a flakiness.
And a buttery yumminess.
Buttery yumminess is right. Okay. So you can actually almost smell the butter here. So rolling it out.
Yeah.
Okay, I think this might be
big enough?
About big enough. So now you could say, oh, enough already with all this, and just use a pre-made crust. And you know what? We won't tell anybody.
So when you use a pre-made crust, is it just a regular pie crust, or
yeah,
do
it
they
would be a regular pie crust. It wouldn't be
quiche.
Quite the same thing, but you know. Okay, so I'm gonna rearrange this here. We want to kind of get this up the side here.
Maybe that's another $1 million idea.
What's that, Ralph?
Pre-made quiche crusts.
Well, you know what? Maybe that is a $1 million idea.
Maybe some gourmet stores already have that. I don't know.
Could be. Could be. I don't see him at Kroger, I'll tell you that. Okay.
Not our local markets.
So we've got our kind of our crust up the side here.
You have some highfalutin gourmets, but we're low-falutin.
We're very low.
Kevin is a low-falutin gourmet. I'm not even a gourmet.
I'm not even a gourmet. I'm just a
gourmand,
home
food
cook.
lover.
Okay. Very good. I think that'll work. Now I'm going to just take a fork here. I'm going to poke some holes in the bottom. Okay.
That'll keep the
And
steam.
a few on the sides.
What is that for?
Yeah, this just allows the
Baking to
bake the air to come through, because what we don't want is we don't want the pastry to puff up, and we're going to do something to ensure it doesn't do that.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to take a piece of aluminum foil here. Now I'm going to put that kind of on the bottom.
Now, do you do that as well with a regular pie crust, or just because this is more of a pastry?
Certain pie crusts you do this too as well.
So otherwise it'll get puffy and
Yes.
you want it to stay flat.
Like if you're baking like a cream pie where you need the crust baked in advance, you would do that. Now here I've got rice.
Rice?
You could also use dried beans
Oh, just to weight it down though.
to weight it down. Okay. Now once you cook, you can just use this rice over and over and over again, or if you, like I said, if you're using beans, you can use it over and over again as a pie weight. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so now we're going to put this in here. It's 425 degrees for, say, 12 minutes or so, 12 to 15 minutes, and then we're going to take it out.
So quiche is a good brunch, good even for, I think we're going to have it more as a breakfast. But
Yeah,
you
but
could
it's
have it for
certainly-
parties, for dinners, a lot of
Yeah.
multi-purposes.
Absolutely.
And it can be eaten hot or cold. I was doing
Yes,
a little
room
research.
Quiche is often served room temperature with a salad, and you've got a beautiful lunch meal. You can serve it warm as well. You can make a lot of us are familiar with these little quiches that you make in these little muffin tins as like an hors d'oeuvre.
Sure.
And what I'm going to do now is that's in the oven. I'm going to put about a tablespoon of butter.
Because you're going to start working on the filling.
And yes, and I'm going to take a little olive oil here, also about a tablespoon or so. And what we're going to do is, look what we've got. We've got these onions and mushrooms, and we're going to saute these until they're nice. The onions we want nice and brown and caramelized. The mushrooms we want to cook, and that will be part of our filling for our wonderful veggie and cheese quiche.
In go the onions.
Okay.
In go the onions.
In go the onions in our butter olive oil mix. Want to get those. No better smell. We always say that, don't we, Ralph?
Yeah, it really takes you back.
So I just had a medium onion that I cut in half and then sliced, and then I cut the slices up into smaller pieces. So now I'm going to take our mushrooms. This is 8 ounces of just regular white mushrooms, okay, that are sliced up.
Did you get them out of the backyard?
Yeah. Let's season our vegetables here. We'll put in a little nice pepper.
Quiches are great for herbs too. Our herb garden
Yes.
isn't quite probably ready, but if you have any fresh herbs growing, they would really add a nice touch too, wouldn't they?
Our crust is out of the oven, and it's been cooling for a few minutes. I'm going to lift this out.
Your little rice weight.
Yeah, and put it in here. Okay, there's our beautiful shell. Now
Partially baked.
we're going to put our filling ingredients together. Here is our sauteed mushrooms and onion. How beautiful is that?
Pretty beautiful.
Okay, we start with 6 eggs.
Wow.
Okay, and these eggs, by the way, have been sitting out, so they're at room temperature.
Which
You
is how
don't
you
want to
want 'em.
use anything cold here. I've got 2 cups of milk there, Ralph. Likewise, not only has the milk come to room temperature, but I put it in the microwave for, maybe a minute or so. You want the milk warm, slightly warm, not hot, okay, but just slightly warm.
And you don't want to use anything less than whole milk. You can use cream, you can use half and half, but not 2%.
Not 2%, and definitely
skim
not
milk.
and definitely not skim milk. Okay. So we've got our 6 eggs in. Now we're going to add our 2 cups of milk. I'm going to just whisk that together here.
What's fun about quiches is you can, as we said before, get creative, add fresh herbs if you have them available. The things that seem like they go together, you could use different meats or cheeses or fillings, and you've probably all had different quiches that have different fillings, and this is a chance for you in the kitchen to get creative. So we're keeping it pretty simple and basic.
Simple.
And like we said before, it can make a good brunch, it can make a good breakfast, it can make a good dinner.
So I've got my eggs and my milk whisked together. I'm putting in a little bit of salt here, maybe, I don't know, a pinch or 2. I'm also going to put in, this is cayenne pepper.
Ooh.
Just that, okay? I mean, just a dash. You don't want this hot, spicy, but it's nice.
I've had quiches where there's a little nutmeg in there too because of the custardiness of it.
Oh, sure.
It brings that up, but you never want to. A little nutmeg goes a long way.
Goes a long way.
Yeah, so be careful of that.
I just put in a good cup of shredded cheddar cheese mixture, and now our wonderful onions,
Savory filling.
yes, and mushrooms. Okay, there we go.
You know
now.
I was going to say, what's really popular nowadays are these savory pies. Is
Yes.
this sort of like that?
Yeah, you could call this a savory pie, absolutely. Okay, now in we go. Here we go. Slide this in. By the way, the oven has reduced its heat to 325 degrees. Okay, remember we had it at 425 for cooking the pastry shell. I've turned it down to 325, and this is going to go anywhere between 30 and 40 minutes. We'll take a look at it because what we want it to be set, but we don't want it to be dry.
Okay, so
it should jiggle a little bit, okay, and it can be a little bit moist in the center, but
not dry. So
we won't want it dried out.
Will you be doing like a toothpick taste?
I'm just going to do the old wiggle and jiggle.
All right,
Timer went off. We checked it at 30 minutes, and it wasn't quite there. So it's now been in for almost about 40 minutes.
At 30 minutes, you gave it the Baywatch test, or I've noticed the jiggle.
The jiggle test. It was still a little too loose, but I think now we're right there. So I'm going to take, look at that.
You can smell the mushrooms, the onions, and it just smells almost kind of creamy with the cheese and the milk. Oh, and that's the leftover.
That's our leftovers. So, of course, Ralph says you can't waste that. And
Nothing
of course
goes to
we
waste.
can't. So you know what? I just put it in a little Pyrex and we baked it off. But you can see we have a nice browning on our crust. We do need to let this cool. You don't need to let it cool completely, but now it's hot. It needs to cool to warm before we cut into it.
It would just be floppy, messy.
Exactly.
So how long to let it sit?
Well, I'm going to put it by the window, and we're going to hopefully maybe in about 15 minutes or so.
Hope no little rascals come by
and snatch it.
Exactly. Right. Well, we've been listening to music that we picked up this weekend. Nelson Riddle,
Love
now.
Him.
It's a singer we had never experienced that we're listening to right now.
Cabaret singer.
Greta Keller. It's hard to get a good shot of it, but yeah.
So it's cooled down. It's still warm, but let's just cut a piece of this. You can see it's very light, very delicate.
And it still might be a little wet. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to let it cool even more if you were not in a hurry like we are.
Right, like we are, because we're hungry.
We're hungry
but
guys.
It's cool for about 15, 20 minutes.
Ooh. Mmm.
Look at that.
Okay.
Okay, that's... Now, I'll get a little fork here.
And by the way, real men do eat quiche. So
Yes, they do. Don't let anyone tell you anything.
Even if they call it a savory pie nowadays.
It's all quiche. You see the onions in there?
Yes.
I'm going to get that mushroom.
You know, it really smells buttery and savory, and
The crust.
the crust came out good.
That's so buttery.
How's the filling?
Delicious.
Does it
Very
have a nice
light.
custardy, kind of eggy,
Yeah.
which I
You can
love.
see flaky. Nice. So, I'm going to eat this whole piece.
All right.
But I know the cameraman just has to have a bite. So, you know what?
I think that came out pretty good.
Yeah. Here's our, we're going to call it a veggie and cheese quiche. Mushroom, delicious caramelized onion, cheddar cheese, and a buttery crust. Savory pie, quiche, by any other name, it's all the same.
We wanted to keep it simple for this one to show our friends, so that you could kind of expand on it if you wish, but you know, start off with just some simple things you might just have laying around.
Yeah, great for a brunch or even lunch. Serve it with a little salad on the side, and it's terrific.
Brunch, lunch, dinner, or breakfast.
So, you know what? We had a great time putting our quiche together. Hope you had a great time being with us. And you know what? We'll see you next time right here on Cavalcade of Food. Bye, everybody.